A little bit late, I know, but on today's episode, I'm going to be introducing you to the end of last season's youth intake, because I keep forgetting to. Plus, we've got a naming ceremony. Hello and welcome to part 9 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode, we're at home against Boston and against Kidderminster, both in the Conference North. And since you were last with me, as you can see by that glorious looking league table, things have been going really rather well. We've won every single match while you've been away, to the point where can you kind of just watch out the corner of your eyes in case you're the jinx on it? So we got thumped on the first day of the season against Harrogate. We changed nothing. We just carried on with the pre-season plan. We're doing the 3-5-2. We've got the same combination of players, but it just started to work from the second game onwards. Ashley Chambers, the man who couldn't hit the target for anything in that first match, is a goal-a-game striker all of a sudden. 5 goals from 5 games, 2 man of the matches, an assist, and a 7.72 over the first 5 games, which, bearing in mind how bad he was in the first game, shows you how good he's been in the 4 since then. A hat-trick, and then 2 against Stalybridge as well. Rocker has also started scoring goals. Rocker's on 4 goals from 5 games and almost as good on the average rating. And Jordan Nicholson is really starting to look like the absolute superstar that we all know he is, averaging an 8.44 from the first 5 games, and he's just the creative force. Involved in 4 goals, 3 of them as assists. The man is a monster and should not be playing at this level. But before we get into any of the matches, I did promise you a youth intake, and a youth intake is what you're going to get. So I know that these actually came through in like March or April time, and we're now in September, but we can still work out who they are. Because they're all the ones that are 16, 17. So if we sort our under 18s by potential, in fact, no, let's sort them by age. So the youth intake from last year was all these 16-year-olds, because actually no, and Locando. Glover was already here when we started, and it's someone I really do need to be keeping an eye on, and at some point we're going to have to start playing with wingers because he looks a bit special, although we are trying to trade him to become a wing back because I'm trying to ruin him. But these are the youth intake that came through. So it was described by the media as a golden generation. There's a few highlights from it. Most notably is Ollie Wootton. And I also promised you we'd have a naming ceremony, and that's exactly what's going to happen, because as part of the changes we've made to the Patreon recently, everyone who backs the Patreon at $20 a month or above gets the opportunity to have a new gen player in the game named after them for the duration of their career. And the first one who gets that honour is Ollie Wootton. And we had a little bit of a chat with the patrons, and the person who's going to get Ollie Wootton is Matt Quine. So from now on, this fella is called Matt, and we're going to put a little bit of a, I don't know, should we put, how are we going to identify these young players? Will a star in front of him work? Just so that we know, I mean, if he moves on from Nuneaton, I want them to be easy to search for. If I now search for star, will he come up? No. Too many results found. We need ideas for what we can put in their names to make it so that we can find them all easily when they move on. But that whole renaming players thing, it's not exclusive to this save. Every time we get a batch of youth players through in either of the saves, I'll offer them out to the guys on Patreon, and as people take them, they'll get renamed. If you are one of the Patreon backers and you're interested in Marvin Ball, who's a wide midfield player with 4-star potential, or who's the other ones who are really good? Yusuf Nyoku, who's a right winger with 4-star potential, or even Michael Draper, who's a central midfielder with 4-star potential. Let me know. But I just thought I'd offer you the best one, and then we'd offer the next one out when we get one through in one of the in this save or one of the other saves. So there you go. We have our first promising youngster, Matt Quine. We're going to now follow his career, and hopefully he ends up becoming a Nuneaton hero, or at the very least makes it into the team, which would be nice. But let's get into today's game. We want to keep our run of wins going. Let's get the under-18s off again. And this is the team that we're going to be putting out there for the home game against Boston. We've got Linus in goal, a back 4 of Clark, Erkalani and Jones, with Lewis and Trotman as our wing-backs. AJ George starts in midfield. I don't know if you've met AJ George yet, other than when he signed. He's on loan from Mansfield. He's a bit of a superstar himself. He came in because of it was a I was resting Elliott, or there was an injury to Elliott, I think. So George came into the team, was brilliant, and is playing really, really well. And I can't really take him out of the team when we're winning every match. Salmons is going to partner him in midfield, which means both El Bekri and Elliott have to be patient and wait on the bench. And then the front three, which will stay together forever as long as they're fit. We've got Nicholson, Rocker and Chambers, and they're just in the form of their lives, all three of them, and absolutely full of goals. So hopefully we see plenty of goals today, because we like goals around these parts. We like to attack and we like goals. So let's get out there and absolutely thump Boston. That's the game plan. That's what I've told the lads. Go out there, thump them. That's all we want. Right, Lewis in space on this left wing, crosses in, and imagine if we'd have scored from the kickoff. That would have been crazy town. I do feel a nosebleed coming on being top of the league. I'm sure it's not going to last very long. Our official target this season is mid-table again. That's what the media are predicting. That's what the board are asking for. We've already spoken that I think we should be able to get into the playoffs this year. We missed out very narrowly at the death last year, and I'd like to think we can achieve it this year. Rocker's in behind and does brilliantly with the finish, and we're 1-0 up, and what a non-league goal that was. Look at the state of this. Clark just nothing ball lumped forward. The defender leaves it. The keeper doesn't know whether to come for it or not, and Rocker doing what all good defensive forwards should do, just chasing down everything, gets onto the end of it, and it's a lovely finish from Elliott Rocker, and we're 1-0 up, and the nosebleed continues. Imagine if we just keep winning football matches. I would be remarkable. That's got to be offside, hasn't it? Yeah, I was going to say he felt a mile offside there. Whew. Usually when I talk about promotions and being top of the table, that's when we lose a match, so I'm not going to mention any of that stuff anymore. George picks up the ball on the edge of the area from the corner, and that was just stupid. I don't know what he was doing there. El Bekri sat there on the bench thinking, well, at least I'm going to get a start in the next game. I might even be on in a minute here because he's just giving away a goal. That all the responsibility for that goes on AJ George, because I don't understand what he was trying to achieve with that little pass. The highlight doesn't even show it, but still, I mean, we could it could be argued we could have done a little bit better, but because it was from our corner, all of our defenders were up attacking. That's one of the reasons we've been a bit more effective from corners, because all three of the big centre-backs go up for these corners, and we basically just leave the wing-backs back, sometimes only one of them. And we were caught out a little bit, but we were caught out because of AJ George's wayward pass. And Nicholson, I don't know what he was trying there, whether that was supposed to be a shot or a cross for Chambers, who, by the way, Chambers a little bit absent today. I've not seen anything from him yet. We need him to wake up, really. It's nearly half-time, and our goal-a-game man is very notably not involved at all. Lewis intercepts well, finds Nicholson, who knocks it back to George, who's trying to redeem himself with a ball that looked like it was aimed at Chambers, but cross comes back in again, and Rocker back off the post or crossbar from a Trotman cross, and we are putting a little bit of pressure on just before half-time. Chambers is offside, though, and we're playing a lot of long ball today, which is weird. We've no longer got more direct passing on. We've actually turned off all team instructions. Have we just given away a penalty? I think we have, and I think Trotman's already on a yellow card as well. If he gave that penalty away, it doesn't look like he's being sent off, but we could be going in at half-time 2-1 down. We need Linus to pull off a wonder save. Look, he's doing the dance and doesn't get there. So from all that excited talk pre-match, we're actually going to go in at half-time 2-1 down, and our star man, Chambers, not really at the races yet. Neither is Nicholson, really. Rocker has been looking at those ratings. Rocker is the only guy who's turned up, and that was a goal he made completely by himself from a lumped ball forward. So we've been excellent in the run up to this game. Today, not so much. So it might be time to. Is it time to tweak something a little bit, or do we just put this down as sometimes we won't be brilliant? Right, Rocker, what's he going to do here? Knocks it back to No one. I think it made it back to Clark in the end. Chambers is through, though, and scores. There you go. 48 seconds into the second half. He's taken his half-time criticism on board and grabs his 6th goal in 6 games. So now we can see properly what went on here. It did go back to Clark, and that's Clark's 2nd assist of the game, both from long balls forward. Is this our new route to attack? Kenny Clark long balls? Which, I emphasise again, we don't have pump ball into the box on. We don't have more direct passing on. We have none of these team instructions on. Clearly, Clark is he fancies himself as a bit of a quarterback. And he was trying it again there and got intercepted. They've decided to start closing Clark down, which is fair considering he's an assist machine. Right, Linus is now having a go at it and finds Rocker, who loses out on the ball. And I thought, was that Nicholson or George who was going to nip in and take that off him? But neither of them got there in the end. And now Jones, he's lumping it forward. What is this? Why are we suddenly playing long ball? They haven't been told to do this. And we've conceded again from it. I wonder if it might be time to start adding some team instructions back on. Because leaving them completely to their own devices, believe it or not, Conference North centre-backs are resorting to long balls forward when told to do what they want. So perhaps they need a little bit of instruction telling them that it's okay to just pass it through to the midfield occasionally. So maybe, would that be work ball out of defence is the instruction that we need for that? Or is this because they're all listed as defensive centre-backs? Perhaps we need to just change them to central defenders. Chambers is in again, though, and misses, because he's never going to score 2 one-on-ones in one game. But perhaps it is because they're defensive centre-backs and they are literally just there to defend and kick the ball away. So perhaps we need to take them back to just central defenders to get them engaging their brains a little bit more. But if we get them to engage their brains a little bit more, is that a recipe for disaster? Do they have brains to engage? Right. George is coming off for El Bekri, and the crowd don't understand why it didn't happen an hour earlier. But we'll switch the midfield up to accommodate those two. Trotman not having a very good game either, so Elliott can come on for him. And we'll leave it there for now. I'm thinking Tyler Smith might be coming on. He's the kid who's on loan from Sheffield United. He's really a winger, but plays well up front. Another pacey forward who I'm thinking he's coming on for Chambers in about 5 minutes if Chambers doesn't do something magic like now. Because we just need a little bit of extra pace and oomph up front. And he's had more than 5 minutes. Oh, hold on. We'll watch this highlight just in case he grabs a goal here. Lewis plays it forward. Salmons nods down. It falls to Rocker. Rocker plays it all the way back to Clark, who can go for his hat-trick of assists, but instead plays it to Lewis. Rocker's in, and that's a very narrow miss from Elliot Rocker. Right, let's get Smith on for Chambers, just to try and stretch him a little bit in these last 10 minutes, try and grab an equaliser, because I'm feeling a bit hard done by today. Right, El Bekri with the free kick. Rocker's there and scores, and he does grab the equaliser. Elliot Rocker has had a brilliant game. That's his 2nd of the game. He's been involved in every move going forward, apart from that other goal that he wasn't involved in. But forget about that. It's a lovely header, though, from Rocker. And now we've got 10 minutes almost with the pacey youngster on up front. We could even go and grab a winner, which then we will be mugging Boston. I think a draw probably is a fair result for the match, but we're not going to complain at all if we go and grab a winner. And equally, we're not going to be surprised if they do, because we're playing Kev football now. Right, Rocker picks the ball up very deep, plays it to Smith. Nicholson has charged on ahead of him. I think that's Nicholson, and Rocker just wasn't awake to him, which is a little bit of a shame. But Jordan Nicholson does operate on a higher level to everybody else in this team. What did Clark do there? That was terrible from Clark. All match, he's just lumped the ball forward at every opportunity, and he waits to the 94th minute before he just stands there looking at it, because he can't work out what to do. Why do you not kick it far there, Kenny? I don't understand what just happened. And we said we wouldn't be surprised if they scored. We're not surprised. It's the way we're set up to play. We are just going to try and outscore opposition. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. Hopefully, more often than not we will. But there are going to be games like this where teams come and score 4 goals against us, even though it feels to me like we played relatively well. Right, let's turn it around in the next game. We're playing against Kidderminster, who are the team challenging for promotion, obviously. Boston were the team in the lower half of the table. So obviously Kidderminster are going to be the one that we beat 8-0 because they're top of the league. That was annoying. We were top of the league. Where did that go wrong? No changes for the Kidderminster game because we scored 3 goals, and that means we did well, even though we conceded 4. George is on last chance saloon in midfield, though, with both Beckery and Elliott desperate to get back into the team. But I promise you, when you lot aren't watching, this team looks really good. It's the 2 matches you lot have seen, we've lost. Every other match, we've won convincingly. So if we lose again now, I'm just gonna play all the games offline and tell you about them. It'll just be me sat in a comfortable armchair next to a fire telling you about all the games we won. I'll read them out of a big book. It'll be great. But we've got to figure out a way to perform when the TV's here. Right, nothing's happening so far. No highlights at all, which, considering how many goals we conceded in the last game, probably isn't the worst thing in the world. And we do get a highlight nearly at the half-hour point, and we've got the ball. Chambers doesn't win it, but Trotman gets the scraps. Nicholson plays Rocker in, and Rocker can't quite turn quickly enough. But Chambers pounces, and now it's 7-7 for Ashley Chambers, who's actually playing like a proper poacher all of a sudden. Because that is about as much of a poacher's goal as you could ever expect to see. Rocker had 2 men on him instantly. They're afraid of him. But it was a terrible pass from their player. Chambers finds himself in space and for once doesn't... I say for once. The man's scoring a goal a game. He must be one of the highest scorers in the division. But he misses his one-on-ones. But little half chances like that he can snatch at, he'll have them all day long. Right, oh, that's a strong tackle on Jordan Nicholson, and they're lucky they didn't break him, because if they'd have broken him, I'd be on the pitch breaking them right back. But we've equalised, and it was a little bit poor, wasn't it? And they've mocked Ashley Chambers' celebration. He did the whole arrow thing, and now they've done the same celebration. I think he was mocking Chambers. That's not fun. So it's a ball over the top. I mean, how familiar a story is that? A ball over the top. Should we be dropping the defensive line back a little bit? I'm wary of doing it, because of the fact that we've only got the 3 defenders and we could leave a big gap between them in the midfield by doing it. Is that a thing? Or should we just drop them all the way back, have 3 defenders who sit on the edge of the penalty area all time, kicking the ball away, and the rest of the team task them with playing football? That might be the route we end up going down. Or I'll perhaps just continue to not fiddle, because on the whole it seems to be going quite well this season. Although this would be 2 games without a win if we don't then grab a winner in this game. So early signs that the simplicity that served us so well for those 4 wins in a row might not actually be the solution long term. And they're in again. Linus with a great save and Jones with an excellent bit of covering work. Have they given a penalty? I don't know what the ref was signalling at there, but Linus with an absolutely superb save and Jones did well to cover. And now they've got another opportunity. It's back out to the corner taker, which usually means an offside. But he'd covered a lot of ground to get back onside. And, I mean, that was all very scrappy. It was like a game of pinball in there. I was struggling to keep up with it. Linus, I think, made another couple of decent saves. We'll be able to watch on here. They might have just bounced back off of players. So I think there's a shot that comes in here. There you go. Shot comes in there. It's bounced back off of one of our players. And then he's very close to saving that. He had to cover a lot of ground, but very close, doesn't get the job done. And we're now behind at home for the 2nd time on this episode. And we might be in the ridiculous situation where 7 games into the season, we'll have lost the 3 games you've seen and won the 4 games you haven't. Which, I mean, I don't understand. I don't know how that can happen. We are good, I promise. Right, don't be surprised if I play 30 games before the next episode now. The next episode will be after we've secured the title. Right, Nicholson's in and hits the post. Right, we've got... I mean, what do we do? Rocker's not having a very good game today. We've got Smith sat there on the bench. That seems like an obvious substitution. Salmon's off, Beckery on is another fairly obvious one. The thing is, I don't know if Smith can play as defensive forward. Probably not. Can Chambers could go across and be a deep lying forward maybe, but then he's not going to be nabbing his poachers goals that have been serving us so well. Should we even make a 3rd substitution now? I mean, Jones is not having the best of games. We could bring Diane on, or do we bring Elliott on and go to a flat back 4 and do like a 4-3-1-2? We've got a match to win. That feels like what we're going to do. So stick him in there. That's not where I'm aiming for. Drop these 2 back. put him on defend. These two can just be proper fullbacks. Lewis can't really do proper fullback. I'll move him up into midfield. I mean, this is going to be a very familiar formation to those of you watching on League to Legend last year. We'll just go to what we know. And this is what we know. We know this works. Or it worked last year anyway. I can't remember what team instructions we used to use. I know we'd overlap. And I don't know what else we did. It was so long ago. Closing down in higher tempo. And maybe a fairly narrow... I think that's what it was. That was the system. That was the Tottenham tactic. Well, for most of Non-League to Legend last year, that was the tactic. Oh, did we go to... Are we on attacking? Yeah, we're already on control. That's right. Let's go attacking. And structure it a little bit more. Let's just go for this. See if that is going to get us back into the game. Or just lead to us conceding even more goals. Because we're now playing with a flat back four, which we don't really know how to do. We've never used this tactic before, by the way, either with Nuneaton. The players don't know what's going on right now. But El Bekri with a corner. Elliott nods it down. Smith collects. It's Nicholson to Clark. And it's very scrappy. Players being brought down all over the place. But El Bekri sticks it into the top corner. I think in his 2 substitute appearances today, El Bekri has done enough to justify getting back into the team as a starter. He got an assist in the last game coming off the bench. And now he's scored a lovely goal. Look at this finish. It's just all over the place. But El Bekri is not messing around. Thumps it into the top corner, and now we've got 5 minutes to go and try and win this football match. We're going to stay on attack. I don't care. I know we conceded a 93rd minute goal in the last game, but we're just going to attack. We're going to try and score that 93rd minute goal today. Nothing's going to happen. Right. Hang on. We've got a highlight. 30 seconds to go. A highlight up their end of the pitch. Is this where we steal a winner, or are they going to counter-attack on us? George, that's poor. And here comes the counter-attack. We've got hardly anybody back, and this is going to really hurt if it happens twice in one episode. And they're just knocking the ball around. Have they decided they don't fancy it? Or are they just biding their time and picking their spot? It's the second one, and luckily it goes wide, and I think that's probably that. I mean, it's not ideal, 1 point out of the episode, but at least it's better than 2 defeats. And fingers crossed, we go back to winning when you're not watching, because apparently that's what we do now. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for brand new Football Manager videos, 4 PM, 9 PM, every single day. And thank you very much for watching.